Everybody's got a perfect right not to believe me because it happened so long ago. But I'm not bothered by being called a liar. But what I find interesting is the stories of those other, 14, 15 women, they're all the same. And none of them have colluded with each other. So this is an MO of this man.
Jessica Leeds is one of more than 24 women who have accused Donald Trump of sexual misconduct. In her case, she alleges that her encounter with Trump happened during a flight in the late 1970s when she was seated next to him. And all of a sudden, he began kissing her, grabbing her breasts, and trying to put his hand up her skirt.
It was a real shock when all of a sudden his hands were all over me. He started encroaching on my space. And I hesitate to use this expression, but I'm going to. And that is, he was like an octopus. It was like he had 6 arms. He was all over the place.
Today, she took the stand in the civil trial of another one of Trump's accusers, E. Jean Carroll, who alleged that Trump raped her in a department store during the 1990s. Like Carroll, Leeds recounted in detail her encounter with Trump, how she, too, did not scream when the alleged attack happened, and like Carroll, kept quiet about the incident for decades. In Leeds' case, not coming out publicly until Trump's 2016 run for the White House. Trump has denied both allegations. However, you won't hear that from him on the stand, as Trump's lawyer, Joe Tacopina, informed the judge this afternoon that Trump will not testify during the trial. And Jessica Leeds joins me now. Ms. Leeds, thank you so much for being here. Not long after your accusation became public, Donald Trump attacked you. Let me play that for you.
When you looked at that horrible woman last night, you said, I don't think so. He went after me on the plane. Yeah, I'm going to go after. Believe me, she would not be my first choice, that I can tell you. Man, you don't know. That would not be my first choice.
That seems to be his tenor with all of his accusers. And there have been 26 of them who, as you said, their stories are all very similar and some very similar to yours. Is that the tone that Joe Tacopina... let me ask you this. What tone did Joe Tacopina take with you when you were on the witness stand today? Because, you know, Donald, he is performing for his audience of one, which would be Trump.
Yes. Well, basically, he went over the length of time between when this happened and now, or 2016 when I came out. And how could I possibly remember? And just questioning my veracity, basically.
And Donald Trump has done that, obviously, with yourself as well. My understanding is that Joe Tacopina's tenor, including with E. Jean Carroll, is to ask, well, why didn't you scream? Why didn't you call for help? Why didn't you ask for security camera footage? Were you asked those kinds of questions as well? Yes,
absolutely. And, of course, the real answer is, again, back then in the late 70s, early 80s, at that time, there was no place to go and complain. The stewardesses were not going to do anything. The airlines was not going to do anything. My company was not going to do anything. There was nobody to tell.
Yeah.
The police would not take you seriously. That was, you were making up a story or whatever, but it just, no, it was nothing to report.
You actually did a conversation with E. Jean Carroll about both of your experiences, negative experiences, horrific experiences with Donald Trump. Let me play a little bit of that, about a later encounter in which he seemed to admit, in a way, what he did to you.
The gala at Saks Fifth Avenue. This is a year or two after the flight, and it's a benefit for the Humane Society of New York and a few other charities. Jessica is the assistant to the president of the Humane Society and is handing out table assignments.
And then Trump, with his wife, Ivana, came up. She was pregnant, very pregnant. And he looked at me when I handed him his table assignment. And I'm looking at him thinking, you're the from the airplane. I remember you.
The future president of the United States remembers Jessica, too.
And he looked at me and he said, I remember you. You're the from the airplane.
Were you able to relate that to the jury, that later on he disparages you again and specifically remembers you from the airplane? Because, you know, if he was going to claim that, how would you remember him? Well, how would he remember you?
Probably he has selective memory of what, you know, maybe the tussle insulted him. I don't know, but that's what he said to me in a room full of people, and it was like a bucket of cold water being poured over me. I would hope the jury would believe me. I would hope that the jury would understand. But who knows? It's still a man's world.
I mean, you are one of 26 women who have made claims at all sorts of ranges, including obviously E. Jean Carroll, who's made a rape allegation against Donald Trump. When you think about what's happened with, for instance, the Bill Cosby case, where it took 52 women before there was a sense that there could be any justice for those women. And as you said, it's a man's world, meaning that a celebrity, it takes a lot of accusers before people start to say, okay, maybe this seems like a pattern. But with Trump, he's admitted it. I mean, he did do the Access Hollywood tape,
yes,
which he said he could do that to people.
Yeah.
Right?
Right, exactly. And wasn't there a story today about an airline incident where a man was putting his hand up the stewardess's leg? I mean, I would hope it in this day and age she would report it, but it's still, who knows?
Yeah. And did you get the sense, my final question to you, as the jurors listened to you and as you answered those questions, emotionally, what did that do for you? Was it hard to do, or do you think that it gave you sort of some sort of sense of closure?
Well, I really, really, really hope this is the last time I'm going to have to repeat this story, because it's pretty awful. But I have no idea of how the jury's going to rule, and I can, as with hoping that in telling my story, people would examine Trump and realize that he's not presidential material. Now it's just, you know, who the hell knows what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I think we are all rooting for you, Jessica Leeds. I think I can speak for everyone who is watching right now. You're very brave to come forward and tell your story. And so just as a woman, I appreciate you. So thank you so much.
Well, Joy, I've watched your show, and I like your way of doing business very much, and I wish you well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Jessica Leeds. You're great. Thank you.